Chapter 11. That evening, while John stretched out across his old couch and filled his hands full of large, greasy potato chips, his apartment door opened. "Hey," Randy's head appeared. "You up for a game of basketball?" When?" "We're meeting at the gym in an hour." "Let me think about it." The apartment door opened wider. "You got something better going on?" John exhaled a deep sigh. "Long day at work." The rest of Randy's lanky body slid into the room. Probably could have guessed it had to do with work. What happened? "Oh, I'm trying to decide what normal is." "That's easy." Randy grinned and raised his arms out. "Me? I'm a normal type of guy." "No." "Really?" John glanced up at him, his tone serious. "You ever thought about it? Who decides what normal is?" "I don't know." "Well, we do. Humans do. Society does. That's how normalcy is decided." "So..." Randy tilted his head as if listening for something. "I wasn't sure if you answered about playing ball with Jeff and Tom tonight. You know, a little 2-on-2. He restored his stance, then rubbed his hands together. "You up for it?" "You want some chips?" John lifted the bag toward Randy. "Have a seat. Stay for a while." "Basketball, John?" "All right, but we've got another hour." Randy grabbed the bag of chips from John's outstretched hand and sank into the recliner. "Okay. You come play ball, and I'll listen to you analyze the human race. Fair trade." "No, really, think about it. Nowhere are there set guidelines or laws that determine what is acceptable behavior or not." "I don't agree with you on that. What kind of chips are these?" He examined the bag. "They're good." "So you think there are guidelines?" "Sure." He reached his hand back into the chip bag. "The law is full of examples of what will send you to the big house if you don't comply. There are plenty of pretty straightforward guidelines." "But who decided those laws?" "The people did." "So?" Randy's mouth was full. "What's your point?" "It's all determined by society. Man is going to determine what's normal for the group, depending on how the majority acts." Randy pulled his head back to look at John. "Are you okay? You look tired. What if it was perfectly normal to walk around with a blanket wrapped up like a baby? A woman, if she wanted, could cuddle it, sing to it, rock it, love it. What if that was socially acceptable?" "So you're talking about one of your patients here." He pulled out another chip and bit it. "What? You're planning to help her go AWOL? And you want to know how to help her blend in so people don't notice?" He held another chip close to his mouth. "That's going to be real tough." "Well, if that was acceptable in our society, she wouldn't be at Clearcreek." "No." He crunched on the chip. "I think it's healthy to say that maybe your patient isn't normal. Only because her actions aren't acceptable in society." "John." He tossed the bag of chips onto the coffee table. "If you allow all the misfits, the deranged, the psychos to roam the streets of the world, you destroy society. It's that simple. But what if..." Randy leaned the recliner forward and stared at John. "Do you want this world to be good? So we accept certain rules, laws, and standards to maintain a value of what we hold in high regard, and those who are unable to comply are sent to other places. They have to be. You can't ruin the norm just because you want to help your buddy leave the crazy house." "I know you're right. I'm just thinking," John said. "We'd destroy the valuable and the good if we removed all the protections that keep unsuitable behavior out." "John, I don't know how to help you." Randy clutched his hands together. "But you've got to stop." "Stop what?" "Stop always being Dr. Sanders." He separated his hands and leaned back. "Just be John sometimes." "I am John." "You're always thinking about the mentally disturbed. And guess what it does for you?" Randy arched his eyebrows. "I'm telling you, if you want to stay on this side of society where we are generally termed the happily sane, I suggest you find other things to consume a few of your thoughts." "I'm fine." "Sure." Randy tilted his head. "If you only want to socialize with the abnormals." John pulled himself upright on the sofa and stared at Randy. And what do you have? I've got Lil. Congratulations. John's sarcasm escaped his friend's notice. Randy reached for the chip bag again and leaned further back in the recliner. Are you afraid? Afraid? John scowled at him. Of what? Of relationships. John released a tight laugh. Of course not. Then why do you avoid long-term associations with females? I don't have time for them. He scanned the coffee table for something to distract himself, but the only thing was a new phone book still in its plastic covering. Besides, he said a little softer, relationships aren't always fun. Occasionally they're not, but why do you always need a girl, Randy? Because I'm happier in a relationship. Well, I'm not. John stood up and grabbed the potato chip bag from his friend. I'd rather have my own time, and I'm happier out of a relationship. Once he had a large handful, he dropped it back into Randy's lap. Randy retrieved more chips. How do you know that? I want to do the things I want to do. With a full hand, the chips hovered near his mouth, but John hesitated to bite. And I don't want to be like you. I don't want your life. Whoa, I'm not saying you have to have my life, but you do need to do something about getting your own. You need more. John paused, his mouth now full. I don't, he said between chews. There's nothing wrong with me or my life, except maybe that I've got you here trying to judge the quality of it. I'm not. Randy pulled out his next chip. But if I were, I'd say that the whole reason you pour your life into your work is because that's all you've got. John reached for the bag again, but this time it was empty. That's not true. Well, that's because I'm here. Good thing I'm your friend and willing to help you, because remember back in college, our excellent adventures. Come on. We had fun back then. So loosen up and let's do it again. Maybe I've grown up and you never have. What is with you? Randy dropped his reclining position and stood up. I'm trying to help you. But if you don't want to change... John crinkled up the potato chip bag. Go play basketball. No, John. Randy shook his head. Really? His voice was serious. I think you should come play. Not tonight. He turned toward the kitchen to dispose of the trash. John, Randy called after him. You're smart enough to know that you need balance in your life. You need this. John poked his head out from the kitchen. Do I? His tone exposed his defensiveness. Randy shrugged. I think you do. Well, John paused at a side table to sort through junk mail. What I do know is that you'll push me until I finally give in. You get me to go places against my will. Well, Randy stood near him, a grin growing across his face. If that's what you think, if you know I'll eventually win, you might as well just give in now. John paused the mail sorting and debated his options. Come on, Randy said. We need you. Without you, we can't play. John dropped the mail, abandoning his minor sorting efforts. The guilt method. Is it working? John sighed, then shrugged. I'll go change. You're a good man, Sanders. Randy grinned. The world's a better place because of you. The following day, during group free time, John looked for Rebecca. He found her in her room sitting at the desk, studying the blurred portrait of her baby. During your break, Rebecca, why don't you go spend time with the others? She turned her head and looked at the wall. You've got almost 20 minutes, John said. Before your symptom management class. It looks like everyone's having fun. They're playing games, the TV's on. Last week, I saw you and Mary Jean talking after group. I think she'd really like it if you joined her now. I don't want to. She kept her eyes down. I want to stay in my room. Is this about Robert? When John sat near her, her fingers tightened around the portrait. I'm not going to take that from you. That's yours. It's all my fault, she said meekly. What's your fault? All of it. She looked at the floor, away from his gaze. I should have never let you near him. John chose his words with care. Rebecca, we need to talk about some things. No, I should have known you'd do this to me. To us. He drew in a breath and held on to the exhale. Let's talk through some of these statements. I need to protect Robert. This won't happen again. Rebecca. He released the breath. Robert's gone. He'll come back. He never was. Stop. Don't talk about him like that. John rubbed his forehead. Do you know why you're here? You don't understand. I'm not sure you understand. He struggled with his words. Robert is only part of... No, get out. Can we just talk about what's happening here? I don't want you here. Rebecca. His voice became stern. I need you to listen to me. She finally looked at him. Get out. All right. John stood up. For now, you can have some space. But at some point, we need to talk and you need to listen. No, I should have never listened. For the moment, John decided to let the moment pass. He headed toward the doorway, then paused briefly. Her eyes stayed on the painting. I'll see you later, he said, but she offered no acknowledgement.